Monday 15th of July 2024. Had the fire alarms already, the practice, so if you hear fire alarm, please exit the building to my rear and meet in the car park at the front of the building where you'll be accounted for. I don't think we've got any members of the public in the building, but there is water available for members and whatever, and I think everybody knows where all the facilities are, so I'll keep it as simple and brief as that. Move on to item 1, apologies, replacement members.
Thank you, Chairman. I haven't received any apologies.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest from anybody? Okay, seeing none, that's excellent. Minutes of the previous meeting circulated. This was the 3rd of June. I'm quite happy to move them. Councillor Skinner seconding them. All in favour, please show. Excellent. That's, I believe, unanimous for those that were here. I'll therefore move you on to traffic items 4.1, Stamford West Street Gardens. Jan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So the first report today, I think I need a different, I need the one for Stamford, please. Thank you. Thank you. So the first report relates to proposed waiting restrictions in Stamford at West Street Gardens. Next slide, please. We received complaints about parking close to the junction with West Street, and site visits confirmed that this does indeed obstruct the passage of traffic, particularly larger vehicles. So we've proposed the restrictions shown in red in Appendix A. We received 2 objections. Concerns around the displacement of parked vehicles further into the cul-de-sac, causing issues, and also the negative impact on residents as off-street parking is limited in the area. Parking has been, as I say, parking has been observed to obstruct the passage of traffic, but also of pedestrians, as vehicles tend to park partly on the footway. This is a small reduction in on-street parking. We don't anticipate a massive impact on residents, and the recommendation is that the objections are overruled so the scheme can be introduced. Thank you.
Thank you for your introduction. Would anybody like to speak to the Stamford application? Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. I do know this area well, living locally, and I think this is a really sensible proposal for the area. Thank you. Yeah.
So you're going to move it?
Yes, I'm happy to move it. Thank you.
Councillor Reid.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yes, similarly, I particularly know this area of Stamford. In fact, I used to use the garage along West Street for a while, and I'm quite comfortable to second the application, as I feel that the impingement on parking for residents is really going to be very minor, having listened to the objection. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any further speakers. I don't see anything to refer back to Jan with. So all in favour, please show now. That is unanimous. But I will say, anybody against, any abstentions? No, that is unanimous. Okay, 4.2, which is Curtain End. Back to you, Jan.
Thank you, Chairman. So Curtain End lies just to the southwest of Boston. Just waiting for the plan there. Thank you. Next slide, please. The B1391 passes through the village. Next slide, please. And we received a request for the existing 40-mile-an-hour limit to be reviewed and reduced to 30 miles per hour. Speed surveys indicated mean speeds of 33 and 35. This renders it a borderline case in line with the policy, and therefore the members of the committee may support a reduction of the 40-mile-an-hour limit to 30 miles an hour as shown in Appendix B. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll therefore open to committee. Any local members want to comment?
Yeah, Chairman.
Certainly. Oh yes, Councillor Brooks, you're on the screen, aren't you?
Yes, please, Chairman. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm here as a local member to speak in support of the request for a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit at Curtain End. I did put this forward a couple of years ago following contacts from residents requesting a reduction in the speed limit, and I've had contacts since then from other residents asking for a reduction. I've also kept Curtain Parish Council updated on this over this period, and they support the request as well. And I drive through Curtain End regularly, Chairman, and it has become more developed over recent years, with planning applications coming and infill development being allowed. And 40 mile an hour does not seem the correct speed driving through there. I always go on how it feels as you drive through an area, and nearer to 30 mile an hour seems right. It has the right feel as you drive through there. 40 mile an hour just seems too fast. And I think that's borne out by the mean speed data coming back from the surveys, Chairman. And so I would ask then that the committee uses their discretion to allow this borderline case to go forward for consultation and support the reduction to 30 mile an hour. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Councillor Skinner.
Thank you, Chairman. I regularly use this bit of road up to Curtain, and I totally agree with what Councillor Brooks has said. I'm very happy to move it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to hear positive comments from the local member and the parish councillors and a relatively local member to Boston, so I'm quite happy to second it. Seeing no further speakers, all in favour, please show now. That is unanimous. Thank you. I will say anybody against, any abstentions? Seeing no movement, that is clearly carried, so we'll therefore move to 4.3. This is Louth Eastgate near Laceby Gardens. Jan, please.
Thank you, Chairman. So Louth Eastgate, near the junctions with Commercial Road and Lacey Gardens. Thank you. We are proposing additional waiting restrictions. A school crossing patrol operates between these two junctions, and the Lincolnshire Road Safety Partnership has identified through their risk assessment that parking to the west does obscure the visibility of the crossing and between drivers and the patrol person, which increases the potential for collision. And they have requested the additional restrictions which are shown in red on Appendix A, not Appendix B as in the report. So this has been subject to the public consultation process. An objection has been received raising concerns that the removal of parking will in fact encourage traffic to speed up and that the crossing should be located elsewhere. It is the officer's view that enabling clear visibility between drivers and the crossing will improve road safety more than the small effect perhaps of traffic being slowed down by the presence of parked vehicles. The risk assessment also considered the relocation of the crossing. However, there is a very fixed desire line between the junctions, and moving the crossing will compromise its viability, and pedestrians are likely to still continue to cross at this point without the assistance of a crossing. It's therefore recommended in the report that the objection is overruled so that we can introduce these restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no speakers external for this one, so open to committee. Councillor Ashton.
I think a compelling case has been made, Mr. Chairman. Happy to move.
Councillor Skinner.
Thank you. I agree with all the comments that have been said, and I'm very happy to second. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further speakers. Proposed by Councillor Ashton, seconded by Councillor Skinner. All in favour, please show now. Unanimous. Anybody against, any abstentions? No, clearly carried. 4.4, Horncastle Marketplace and St Lawrence Street. Jan, please.
Thank you. Horncastle, Market Street and St Lawrence Street various proposals here, and we're in the centre of the town. And next slide, please. The proposal is to close St Lawrence Street and part of Marketplace to through traffic, as shown in the hatched area on Appendix B. This will enable us to remove the current one-ways, and we propose also to relocate the taxi rank as shown in blue and extend the limited waiting bay in green to 30 minutes from 20 minutes. We've received 8 objections to these proposals, which are detailed in the report, but in summary, there are concerns about closing this off, which will encourage more traffic to need to use High Street, North Street and Conging Street to access the supermarket and the car parks. This will increase traffic at the junction of Conging Street and North Street and congestion throughout this route. There will be inconvenience to residents and businesses by the closure of St Lawrence Street. This may compromise the viability of the businesses. There'll be less. These will be less accessible. This will be more inconvenient to residents and businesses accessing the supermarket. And there's a belief that the current traffic flow through here does deter crime and antisocial behaviour. And the scheme will also have a negative impact on the market and the post office operations. In response, we have surveyed the area, and there are approximately 500 vehicles on an average day using St Lawrence Street. The alternative route via Conging Street, if we go to the next slide please. Conging Street carries two-way flow there at the bottom and has good footway provision on both sides, is much better suited to carrying traffic, whereas Lawrence Street in the photograph above is very narrow and the footways are extremely narrow, and pedestrian safety is compromised by through traffic. The emergency services and post office have voiced no concerns about the scheme, and we have worked with the East Lindsey District Council to ensure there will be no negative impact on the market or the taxi provision. St Lawrence Street very much lends itself to the pedestrianisation that would result from this scheme, and the restrictions proposed will facilitate positive change here and improve safety for the pedestrians navigating through it. It's therefore recommended that the objections are overruled so that this scheme may be introduced. Thank you.
Councillor Gray.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Horncastle Town Council and myself, we're very much in favour of the pedestrianisation of St Lawrence Street and the marketplace. I just want to give you a little bit of background. The pedestrianisation of St Lawrence Street was proposed in the town plan in 2007 to 2009 and is actually included in the current neighbourhood plan. This was developed through extensive consultation, and the neighbourhood plan in fact was approved at referendum. And thinking strategically, the present situation just is not welcoming. Those who are familiar with the town will know that the main town car parks around the Tesco store and behind the post office, the only route for pedestrians from those main car parks and from the supermarket is actually down that very narrow St Lawrence Street. In the photos that Jan has just shown, you can see how restricted the street is, and it's impossible for residents to walk on the pavements, whether it be walking in wheelchairs, pushchairs, mobility scooters at all. And so we need to acknowledge that. It's worth noting that East Lindsey is a designated A20 district, and we do encourage older visitors. The marketplace has been subject to temporary closure since the summer of 2020, when the Government Emergency Active Fund was announced. And it's been the pedestrianisation there in that area has been very successful. There's been extensive consultation with business owners affected, with face-to-face meetings and site meetings, and they in fact were attended by Jan Gibson and the area highways manager. And there's been regular ongoing consultation at the Town Council Market Day surgeries, and 99% of people that we've consulted with have all been in favour of this. The potential benefits for the town's economy and the environment of pedestrianising this area cannot be underestimated. Of the 7 businesses that front St Lawrence Street, as shown in Appendix B of your report, 6 are restaurants or takeaway outlets. To my knowledge, 4 are very keen to pay for pavement licences, creating a safe, pleasant cafe culture zone to enhance the current offer. During COVID, government grant funding facilitated the High Street Task Force to visit to the town, and indeed in their findings and their report, they recommended the pedestrianisation of St Lawrence Street in the marketplace. There have been objections, as Jan has just said, but the scheme has been adapted and more detailed dialogue has taken place to allay those fears and concerns. So as the report concludes, the aim of the scheme is to enhance the central part of the town by removing the traffic flow, encouraging more residents, encouraging outdoor seating and that cafe culture. The safety for pedestrians will be greatly improved and more visitors will be attracted, resulting in increased footfall and increased length of visitor stay in Horncastle. So I hope that members will agree the order. Thank you, Mr Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Gray. I know Horncastle very well, and I certainly know this little street. Yes, the supermarket Tesco's is further along, but the access to it is down Congin Street, I believe. It's a whole lot better road surface, taking you out onto North Street. I believe St Lawrence Street is cobbled, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It is, Mr Chairman, yes, it's cobbled.
So from that point of view, you know, it's really not a street that in modern days we really want to be putting traffic along. And as everyone said, the pavements are very narrow. It's a very restricted street. Quite happy to move the recommendation. Councillor Skinner? Thank you, Chairman. I know the area very well as well, and I think it would benefit from pedestrianisation. So I'm happy to second. Thank you. Thank you. Seeing no further speakers, I will put it to the vote. All in favour, please show. That is unanimous, but I will say anybody against, any abstentions? Clearly nobody's indicating. Very much carried. So we'll move to 4.5 then, North Highcombe, Claudius Road.
Thank you, Chairman. So a request has been received for an extension to existing waiting restrictions at this location. Next slide, please. Parking in the area causes obstruction to the visibility at junctions and passage of traffic and pedestrian crossing points. We've received 4 objections to the proposed extension to the restrictions shown in blue in Appendix A. These are around displacement of parking further into the estate, causing issues for residents, negative impact on residents owing to reduction in on-street parking, and a concern that there will be increased vehicle speed encouraged by the lack of parking, and this will encourage the area to be used as a rat run up to Newark Road. Claudius Road is one of only 2 access points into this quite large development, and therefore it's vital that traffic flow is maintained through here, particularly for the regular bus service that passes through this point. And the recommendation therefore is that the objections are overruled so that these restrictions may be introduced. Thank you.
Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I'm really just here to support this. I've supported it all the way through. We had a shorter route, a shorter double yellows that just haven't worked. We get back up to the roundabout. It's heavily used by people walking to go through to the school. So I just wanted to say I fully support it. Thank you. Thank you.
I discovered this area 3 or 4 weeks ago when the A46 was closed and the bypass was closed, and various people were trying to navigate through to get around Lincoln, and I'll admit I was one of those people. It's a very close environment in that area, and I fully support the recommendations come before us, so quite happy to move it. Councillor Ashton.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Councillor Rowe makes a compelling case on behalf of his resident. I'm very happy to second.
Thank you. I don't have any further speakers, so therefore proposed by myself, seconded by Councillor Ashton. All in favour, please show now. Unanimous, but I will say anyone against, any abstentions, seeing none. So therefore we'll move to 4.6, and which is Kirkby Lathorpe Church Lane. Jan, please.
Thank you. Final report today is for waiting restrictions proposed at Kirkby Lathorpe. Next slide, please. The village lies off the A17 to the east of Sleaford. Next slide, please. The Parish Council and local county councillor have raised concerns about the impact of on-street parking at school start and finish times. This impacts on traffic flow along Church Lane. Site visits have confirmed that congestion results, and there are proposals to introduce 3 sections of waiting restrictions as shown in Appendix B. Those to the north and south of Church Lane are 24-hour restrictions, as we don't believe there will be too much impact on residents in these areas. The central area in Inset 2, though, is a part-time restriction to apply only when the school starts and finishes, when traffic is at its peak. This will allow residents and their visitors to park at other times. We've received 5 objections, again citing displacement of parking as a result of the restrictions, and a concern that the part-time restrictions will not be adequate, and also that enforcement is unlikely to be forthcoming. The restrictions proposed are the minimum that we feel are required to achieve the aims of the scheme, which is to essentially provide a passing place for traffic to pass at very busy periods, as currently it can become gridlocked. The part-time restrictions proposed will apply only at school start and finish times, because we feel that this is all that's necessary, as at other times there may be parking associated with the school but is not on the scale as the start and finish times. We acknowledge that parking enforcement may be limited in this remote area. However, the presence of restrictions does at least allow us to target enforcement in the area if required. So the recommendation is that the objections are overruled and that these restrictions are introduced. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe that enforcement is the reason why people shouldn't do something. If people are going to do it, they'll get on and adopt that procedure. In one of the villages I represent, close to Lincoln, parking enforcement, the people outside the school seem to think they can do all sorts of things on occasion, but they were surprised a couple of mornings when parking enforcement did turn up and start producing tickets. So if you have a rule, people should be hopefully working towards it. Quite happy to move the recommendation. I do know Kirkby-le-Thorpe. I actually have a friend that lives along this length of road, so I know the area quite well. So I'm quite happy to propose it. Councillor Carrington.
Yes, I'd just like to put in a word for Kirkby-le-Thorpe, as I believe it's known locally, Chairman. Yeah, I'm also familiar with this village. I take the point that the objectors are making. However, when we're talking about a relatively short part of the day, and crucially when we're talking about safety at a primary school, I've stood outside of that primary school and it can get very busy for 2 short periods of the day. I really think that on balance this should go forward, so I'm very happy to second.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Okay, I'll put it to the vote. Proposed by myself, seconded by Councillor Carrington. All in favour, please show now. Unanimous. Anybody against? Any abstentions? Seeing nobody, that is therefore carried again. Now, we have no further business, so thank you all for attending.